Drawing with ink pens is tricky, especially when you're trying to draw something in perspective. Well, today we're going to be doing an interior scene together using ink pens to draw a lovely little reading nook, complete with a lamp, a chair, and some books on a side table. Let's get drawing. To start off, we're going to add a vanishing point. The vanishing point is where all the horizontal lines in your drawing would converge. Imagine it if you're looking out onto the sea and you're looking at a boat, the horizontal lines on the boat would appear to recede back towards that vanishing point. For us, it's a valuable thing to do because the chair that we're going to add to this cozy scene will be leading back towards that vanishing point. What we want to do first is draw some guidelines. And if I trace these guidelines, I'm going to pretend that I'm drawing an imaginary line towards that vanishing point. I'm keeping these lines really lightly dotted because we're drawing in pen here, so we don't have as much leniency as if we were drawing in pencil. And then we're going to draw some horizontal lines here, almost like little tiny dots extending out to the right-hand side of our page. We've created a rectangle, and the rectangle appears to be kind of a little bit above our eye level, receding back towards the distance. That's going to be the base of our chair, but we need to draw the top of the chair as well. And that means we're going to draw another line here, making sure we have our imaginary line that goes back towards the vanishing point. We can then connect that line up here and draw another horizontal line. This one is going to end a little bit, about an inch or so to the left of the farmost line. You can see now that we've created kind of the outline of what this chair might look like. We want to now add some curved armrests. And so what we're going to do in here is add some more dots that kind of add a curve right here and a curve on the other side. It can extend out farther than the sides of the chair. And now, once we have that curve, we're going to focus on the right-hand side here and draw that line downwards all the way to the bottom of our box. We can then draw a line downwards here, about halfway down into the box, and then a really narrow dotted line all the way across. And then we're going to kind of replicate the scale and the size of that armrest over to the other side. If we go back to the right-hand side of our lovely comfy chair, we can now identify the top of that arc and want to draw a line backwards here, generally going towards that vanishing point. It's our guide, we refer to it constantly. And then let's continue this line up here. This is where we're going to deviate from what we've drawn before because we want to kind of curve the back of the chair, draw a line a little bit the way across to the left, something that's a little firmer. You can see when I'm using this pen here, I'm not going super dark. I'm kind of dotting and kind of sketching in my way. Not worrying about lines being straight and kind of curving the sides of the chair. We're going to make this chair appear three-dimensional, so it's important that we allow the sides of it to kind of curve around here and then kind of go inwards. Let's leave the left-hand side of this armrest here. We're not going to worry about dotting that in too much. Instead, we're going to add a couch cushion, or I guess a chair cushion. That's going to be up here. And I know this chair is a little on the thin side. Hopefully whoever's sitting in it is a very small person. And so there we have the groundwork for our chair. We can add some small little legs here on the bottom, kind of making it seem like the legs of the chair extend almost to the bottom. And to add these, I'm just adding a little bit of darker sketching here on the four corners of that chair. But often chairs like these don't exist on their own. There's usually a little table, and that's what we want to draw here as well. I'm going to draw a horizontal line to the right of this lovely little chair. And then I'm going to draw a line down halfway here. This is going to be the base of our table. So if I thicken it out and then draw some parts that flare outwards here for the supports. We now have the base of the table. It's not going to fall over, and we can add some thicker elements here of this table as well. Now, from where we are sitting or standing in this scene, we can see that the horizontal top of the table is above the vanishing point. And that means that some of the table might be visible because we're viewing it almost from below. So to add that 3D effect, we can just kind of add a little narrow arc below the table here. And then let's talk about what we're going to put on the table. Well, first things first, I think we should add some books. So to do that, I'm going to draw a line up from the right-hand side, cross over to the left, and then kind of angle that line downwards towards the vanishing point again. I'm going to do the same thing above, but create a slightly smaller rectangle because most books are different sizes. And you'll notice that I'm adding a little bit of the jacket or the cover overhanging the side of the book. I can add another book here. Let's do it. Even smaller. And again, the horizontal parts of the book kind of appear to go down towards the vanishing point. Now, in order to make it look more like a book, let's kind of curve the spine here of this top one and the bottom one here and the bottom one here. And I'm making the edge of the book kind of clearly like they're hardcovers sitting on top of the table. Why don't we also add some sort of vase here for flowers. So I'm going to create a little tall, narrow rectangle and a slight arc on the top of it. And then I'm going to just add some tulips here. So very easy flowers to draw. Just some strands going up with some lovely little flowers. You can kind of layer these as well to kind of make it seem like they're more detailed and luscious. You'll see how some of them are more detailed, some of them are a little bit less. And that is all right. That kind of like layers of detail really makes things like this kind of stand out. So now let's talk about shading. We want to shade this chair, especially so it appears three-dimensional in this scene. We're going to do that by using a method called hatching, and that's adding a whole bunch of parallel lines kind of going down an object's face. And we're going to start about 1/2 inch from the left-hand side of the chair. I'm drawing these lines downward here, and I'm continuing them all the way across the chair. Notice I'm moving my pen pretty fast, and I find that helps with consistency. We're almost imagining like there's a lamp to the left of the chair, and maybe we will add a lamp as well. So we have the back of the chair hatched in here. Now let's do the same for the legs. We're going to hatch in this chair, not hatching in the left-hand side of it, but this front side and this side as well. And the front of the cushion here. Now you can go over it again, and I think we can add some more dynamic shading here on the chair. Because this chair is not fully flat, it's a rumpled old armchair. So some areas will be darker, some will be lighter because the fabric kind of goes in and out. The areas here farthest away from the light sections, we can add a little bit more shading. And then we can add a little bit of shading to the right-hand armrest here to make it appear like it is a little bit in shadow, because we're going to add that lamp to the left-hand side of this chair. I'd encourage you to be a little bit irregular with your shading. This adds some like texture to this kind of chair too, which is really valuable. We can add some darker hatching elements on the bottom of this seat cushion here. And now we have this chair kind of all shaded in. Now if we draw this lamp post, or I guess a reading light here, why don't we draw a little bit of a platform here behind the chair, and then a nice light that kind of curves up here. A nice long line, and then we're going to draw a horizontal line here. And on either side, we're going to curve it up like this. I'm going to arc the top of it, and we're going to arc the bottom of it as well because it's above the horizon line. I find you can draw this kind of shape over and over again to kind of make sure it looks pretty correct. But because this lamp is kind of viewed from below, we're able to see a little bit of it underneath. And now we're not going to shade in the lamp because it's casting light here. You can see the lamp is shooting light down here to the left of the chair and on top of the chair as well. For realism, let's add a little light switch in there. And then we can see that the light is casting light on the top of the chair, this part of the armrest. That means that it would add some shading onto the vase as well, and onto part of the books. As well, this little table would be almost fully in shadow. I think this little scene is looking quite cute. We can finish it off with some lovely little details before we call it a day here. But then as well, I'd love to see what you create. If you want to continue this scene, draw something else, add some other background elements, I think that'd be pretty darn cool. For now, let's add a little bit of a shadow to this chair. We can see that the lamp's above the chair and the chair is in front of it with this area in shadow. If we draw a little dotted line here, we can kind of chart the course of our shadow by kind of guessing what elements of the floor would be in shadow because the chair is blocking them. You can then use that hatching method I talked about to add some shadow here in front of the chair. Now I'm kind of going in multiple directions here. That's all right too. I'm gonna find out what works for you. And I'm also using a very small pen, a 005. So you might find something else works best for you, or you might find your pen kind of acts differently on the page. Often I find these kind of chairs have some stitching elements. So I'm gonna add that as well. A little line here around the edge of the chair. And let's add some little buttons here as well. You might be able to tell, but I do not know how chairs are constructed. Oh well. I'm gonna do a little bit of more shading. I find that contrast between lights and darks is really what makes pen drawing pop. So you really want to make sure that in your drawings you do have a fair amount of contrast. That can even include, adding some darkness to the most covered elements on your page, like the bottom of this table here. To really give it some dark vibes, make it look like this this lamp is casting a lot of shadow. And then why don't we add a lovely little carpet here to finish this scene off. So if I draw a line out from that vanishing point that you might have forgotten by now, we can then draw a horizontal line over here and a horizontal line in the back. Gonna kind of let it fade out to the right-hand side. And then I'm gonna draw some of the little strands out from the carpet. And we're starting to have a nice little scene all around us here. A chair, a lamp, a nice coffee table. What else do you need in your reading nook? I think one thing that could be cool is a window. I'm not going to draw the whole interior scene, but it can be kind of nice to infer that there's more to this space than meets the eye. Also, you could experiment with adding your own exterior elements to the scene as well. Let's do that. Let's draw one behind the right-hand side of the page, or behind the right-hand side of the chair. A nice tall rectangle. And then I'm going to add some really light crossbar here. Again, probably using the wrong term for this. And I think this window is going to add some nice dimension to this drawing. I love kind of implying that there's more than meets the eye to the scenes that I'm drawing. I think this is a great way of suggesting to your viewer that there's more to this room that we didn't draw. And you can experiment with what you add outside this window. I mean, if you want to add, a lovely mountain scene, that could be kind of cool. It's really up to you about how far you take this. Do you want to add some trees? There is so much you can add. An exterior view that's kind of add some whimsy to the scenes we're drawing. I'm going to draw some curtains here as well to the sides of this window. So some nice flowing lines downwards here. We're not too worried about perspective with these curtains because we're viewing them kind of straight on. And then a lovely curtain rod that goes across. And some vertical lines to show the folds in the fabric. Let's add some darkness to this window. I'm going over this all one more time just to add some more shading here. There's so many other things we could do with this scene. We could add some texture to the carpet. We could add some, patterns here. Make it look like it's a little bit messy. And you could add a full room around us as well. But all in all, we have a little trifecta of a coffee table, a chair, a lovely reading lamp. And I think we've drawn a scene that conveys some meaning to the viewer with a lovely little background behind us as well. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. If you did, drop a review below or a comment, and make sure you follow me as well. I'm posting new drawing tutorials all the time. Today, we're going to draw a lovely little interior scene featuring a lovely armchair, some books, a vase, and a lamp. Along the way, we'll talk about how to draw in perspective, especially when it comes to tricky shapes like this chair. We'll also talk about how to capture light, shadow, and shading with pen.